Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. It is week 4 time, NFL week 4. We're getting close to the quarter mark of the season. Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm better than Seattle fans right now. Doing pretty good, actually. Oh, man, yeah. I'm glad we finally got a win. That's all.
I'm glad too, even though I think I picked Seattle, didn't I?
Yes, you did, actually.
I'm still glad they lost. Do you want to tell me what the standings are? You made a point up on me with that game for sure, but in general.
Yeah. Overall, though, you still gained one more point on me. But it wasn't good. Like, we had a lot of wrong picks last week. You had 6 and I had 5. Wow. Brings the total 20 to 24.
That's an embarrassing score. 6 and 5.
Oh, dude, it was bad.
Out of 16.
Bad. We picked so many road teams in this, and so many home teams won this weekend. Like, it was ridiculous.
Boy, that is a rough one. We gotta get better. We haven't been that good this season. Like we're averaging what, like 7, like less than 50% right now.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, we gotta step it up.
Slightly better than I am at this point.
We gotta really step it up. Let's quickly talk about the MVP rankings. How about that? Quickly becoming one of my favorite segments, and I am more than happy to announce that for the first time in my life, I have Tua Tagovailoa as my MVP number 1 this week. Now, Alabama product, obviously, I'm biased in favor of him. There's no doubt about that, but I can finally justify putting him there, and I honestly think he belongs at number 1 at this point. The Dolphins are undefeated. They are 3-0. They have now beaten the Buffalo Bills, which was exactly what I thought it would be, an absolute nail-biter, and the game in which the Dolphins proved once and for all that they are for real. Now, Tua is number 1 for this also very simple reason. He's played against number 2 and number 3 on this list, and he's beaten both of them. Number 2 being Josh Allen, number 3 Lamar Jackson, who's, by the way, new on the list, but he's risen dramatically, has Lamar Jackson. Number 3 on the list, coming from not even being in the top 5, and I'm including him now because, he's been playing lights out. Lost that game to Tua. Other than that, he's been playing like he did back in his MVP season, so he's my number 3. Number 4, Patrick Mahomes. This is a big fall, but you lost to the Colts, who are one of the worst teams in the league. Didn't play very convincingly. Could have argued that if Justin Herbert didn't get injured, he could have outplayed Mahomes in that game. So he's down to 4. This is also like, it's very early in the season. The differences are very small, so there's bound to be a lot of back and forth on that list. Mahomes could be back to number 2 or 1 next week, for all I know. There's a lot of change that can happen. And number 5, Justin Herbert, still also falling down quite some ranks. But for the Chargers, they gotta start winning games. I think that's the main problem. They have all the pieces. They have an incredible defense. They have Herbert, on paper, great offensive support. You have to win games. And 3 other names I want to throw out just in the hunt MVP at the moment: Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, in whatever order you like, are maybe the 3 people most likely that I would consider putting on the list. Carson Wentz has sort of fallen off the wagon here, as you've noticed. By the way, if you want to give me your opinion, there's a poll on the channel community page where you can vote for your current MVP. Number 1, your favorite. If it season ended today, who's your MVP? And I'll ask Smokey as well. Smokey, what's your list looking like?
Oh, definitely Tua. I think after that performance, we have to put Tua up there. He has the best record overall of any of these guys, and he is proving that he's on a breakout trajectory for the season. And as we know, the first year a quarterback breaks out, if they tend to play as well as these guys have, they will win the MVP, or at least it seems that way. Now, I guess the battle would be right now between Tua and Hurts. Of course, I've got Allen's and Mahomes right up there. And Lamar. Lamar had an excellent week this weekend. And Lawrence is a surprise to be making his way in there. But if he continues on this path, like, he's definitely going to be amongst that list. So, yeah, right now it's Tua, though.
Yeah, I agree with that, but let us know your opinion. Go vote on the channel page. Now, let's get into the picks. Week 4 coming up, so we're going to have to make up some points. Our standing is not good so far. Starting off right away with the MVP frontrunner at the moment on Thursday night here. Tua, the Miami Dolphins at the Bengals.
Now, Tua is dealing with an injury right now, so I'm hoping that he's ready to play this week. It's going to be tough. But the Bengals they got to win this week over the Jets. I don't know who would have thought the Jets could have won that game, but but still the offensive line is not fixed. I mean, he's still getting sacked right away. The Dolphins are a way better team. At this point in time, the Dolphins are so much better than the Bengals. I'm just hoping that Tua is able to play here because I'm not even sure who the backup is. Maybe Barkley or somebody, whoever's down there right now. If they go to the backup, then I've got all the confidence in the world in the Bengals winning this one. But right now, I'll say that Tua plays and the Dolphins win.
All right, so I'm confused here. I'm looking at two sources at the same time. I'm looking at an article, NFL.com, saying Tua is planning to play against the Bengals, and I'm looking at the odds that have the Bengals a 4-point favorite in this game. Now, looking at the odds with the Bengals being favored, this can only mean that Vegas does not believe that Tua will play.
Yeah.
But if Tua does play, these odds should be flipped, which makes me inclined to want to put money on Miami. And I'm going to trust the fact that if at all possible, they will throw him out there. With that being said, I'm going to agree with you. I will take the Dolphins to win it. But if Tua doesn't play, this becomes a different game. And then I can see why this is close to a pick 'em or even slightly favored for Cincinnati. But for now, Dolphins are undefeated. They look incredibly strong. I'm biased in favor of them because I want to see Mike McDaniel and Tua both succeed so badly. And I'm glad exactly what I projected is happening. It's always good to see. So I'm taking the Dolphins to stay undefeated. Vikings at the Saints.
Jameis is not good for 3/4 of a game, obviously, and he does throw that obligatory interception. But he seems to want to make a comeback at the end of every game. It just wasn't quite enough this past week over the Panthers, who were getting their first win in that situation. This division just looks horrible right now. I don't know, man. I'm looking at it, the Falcons might be the strongest in this division at this point. Even though the Falcons have the same records as the Saints and the Panthers, they're the only team putting up points, like real points, like 20, 30-point games consistently. You can't say that for the Bucs, which has the best defense, so that might actually push them to be the winners of the division. But man, that was a horrible game with the Packers. But anyway, back to these guys. The Vikings pulled out the win. The Vikings still look strong. Seems like Justin Jefferson is not getting enough work. I don't know how long that can go on before he starts getting mad about that. Thielen looked good. I'll take the Vikings on the road. The Saints are bad.
Saints don't look too convincing, right? It sucks because I'm rooting for Jameis, but I do agree with you. I will take, once again, the road team, which has proven so far not to be so smart. But yeah, I'm taking the Vikings as well. As for the division for the NFC South, I may have a comment on that when we get to Atlanta, which is actually up next. So let's jump into that. I'm taking the Vikings for the record. Browns at the Falcons.
Yeah, the Browns actually look good. It's crazy to say. With Jacoby Brissett there, they actually look better than last year with Baker. But we know how good that run team is. They're probably the best running back duo in the league. It's been said for quite a few years now. It's probably like the 3rd or 4th season in a row that's been able to be said. And it still is the case. Everybody counts these two guys out for some reason at the beginning of the season, especially in fantasy football. But then they always come through. Nick Chubb is probably neck and neck with Derrick Henry as the best just north-south runner in the entire NFL. And that's how they win games. That strong of a run team makes it where you can open up the passing offense because they have to cover the run, and they can't. Even when they do that, they can't cover this group of running backs. But it's my Falcons. We got the win. I know that Mariota's going to throw an interception at some point during this game because that's what he does. He's hanging out with Jameis, and that's just how it goes these days, I guess. But we are putting up points. This team is actually kind of decent on offense. If we could clean up that interception per game, or 2 on some of them, then we actually have a chance at this division. I know the Browns look good, and I'm scared, but I'm going to take the Falcons again.
See, you beat the lowly Seahawks.
Exactly.
Is all they did. Now, it's a win, and I agree with you on the part that the Falcons do score. They have a scoring offense. We'll see how they match up directly with New Orleans and with Carolina. But as for Tampa Bay, I don't think the Falcons are the best team in this division. Offensively, yes, but the Bucs are giving up on average of less than 10 points per game, which is completely ludicrous. That defense is smothering. So I just don't see anyone getting past them in that division at the moment. I'm gonna do what I did last week as well: root for the Falcons, but pick against them. Browns on the road, and that is again my third road team in a row. I can't help myself. Bills at the Ravens.
Speaking of road teams, I mean, where do you go here? This is actually probably the Bills versus Dolphins of last week. This is going to be an interesting showdown that should turn into a shootout, you would think. Or maybe not necessarily a shootout, but a run out with these two quarterbacks. But these guys are capable of passing, as we've seen over the past few years. They are excellent passers, and both of them have quite an arm, but they can both run the ball at any given time. The Bills coming off that loss, I expect them to be fired up and ready to go to Baltimore and just hand one to the Ravens. But the Ravens look so good. Lamar is making his case to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. I think he is absolutely driven to do that this season, because he maybe he feels kind of slighted for not getting that contract before the season started. So here he is trying to dominate the entire world, which makes this really tough. The Bills are not invincible, as we saw. But I still think there's a slight edge to the Bills. The Bills still look scary. I wouldn't want to play them. I wouldn't want the Falcons to play them, because there's no way we're winning that. I'm going to take the Bills on the road.
I do agree with you tentatively. This is MVP Bowl as well, and probably the game of the week. And this could go either way. We've seen the Ravens play the Dolphins, and now they're playing the Bills as well. So talk about, gauntlet there. I'm gonna trust Buffalo once again with Josh Allen and probably a slightly stronger defense to get it done. It was close, against Miami. It was a shootout. It was what I thought it would be. It's maybe the two best teams in the league, or two best teams in the AFC matching up. And we could count the Chiefs in there as well. But I like the Bills. I like the Bills over Baltimore by a little bit, so I will trust them also on the road. Another road team picking there. We have the Washingtons at the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'll tell you something, man. Washington did not show up this week. Just when we wanted to buy back into Carson Wentz, they just flatlined that offense. It was not good. I don't even know what else I can say for them. It just looked bad. But on the other hand, you wouldn't think the Cowboys are going to win many games with Cooper Rush out there. But obviously, he's showing that he can be a sustainable quarterback. I mean, against lowly teams, it is what it is. But that 8 points by Washington against the Eagles. Maybe the Eagles do have a legit defense. The Eagles are definitely really good. But Jesus Christ, they've played so much better than that through the first 2 games of the season. Just to get stomped out by the Eagles. The Cowboys beat my Giants, though. I'm going to go with the Cowboys at home. I need to pick a home team.
Your Giants. Okay, I see how it is.
I'm rooting for the Giants, man. I really want them to do something.
I get it. Totally get it. Sympathetic. Yeah. I'm going to take the Cowboys to win this as well. Carson Wentz was on my MVP list for 2 weeks, and I'm having an inclination that he's not going to make a return to it for the rest of the season after that most recent showing. I'm going to take Dallas because they showed an impressive win. And by the way, Cooper Rush, he's a 500 quarterback. He wins some games. He can start for you in NFL. And the difference between him and Dak is substantial, but nowhere near as substantial as people think. Cowboys are not lost it out of it because it's Cooper Rush time. And they're going to beat the Commanders. I believe 100% of the Washingtons, I should call them. We're going with that narrative. Cowboys win at home. Another home pick on the record for me as well. Seahawks at the Lions.
Yeah, that's your first home pick so far.
Is it really?
Yeah,
first one?
The Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, and Bills.
Good God. Oh, my. All right.
This is one we're both going to agree on, obviously, right? There's no way. Yeah, the Seahawks are bad. They lost to the Falcons, for God's sake. I want to believe. I mean, they beat the Broncos, so maybe the Falcons are real. But that's enough about the Falcons. The Seahawks are really not good, and if Geno is going to be out, was Geno hurt in this past game?
No, Geno was playing.
Okay. Well, I knew he played, but for some reason I want to say he got banged up during this one. But the Lions took a tough loss. They actually should have won that game against the Vikings. It just came down to the very last minute of the game, and it is what it is. It was whoever got the break at the end of the game. The Lions are showing that they can hang with these teams. There was no reason they should have been hanging with the Vikings, but they are decent enough to do that. And the Seahawks are below decent, so I'm going with the Lions at home.
Yeah, this is the best Lions team we've seen in a long, long time. This might be the best Lions team I have ever seen, personally, ever witnessed. I'll agree. I'm taking Detroit. Detroit they are not that far away from being 3-0. Like, it's not like they were just like they were terrible. Detroit is a real team. I think they're going to compete for a positive, for a winning record. I don't think Seattle is going to be competing for a winning record. Also part of the respective divisions that these two are in. But Detroit over Seattle, I totally agree, and I'm glad to make that pick. Chargers at the Texans.
Well, speaking of banged up quarterbacks, here we go with Justin Herbert. That was a horrible game. Like, they did not show up to play against the Jaguars. Come on, it's the Jaguars. I mean, but maybe Trevor Lawrence is legit, so maybe I can give them that. Texans are absolutely bottom of the barrel as we expected them to be. It was just some kind of fluke that they hung with the Colts in the first week of the season. The Colts who just beat the Chiefs, as a matter of fact. I can't give them that, though. Damian Pierce is not doing as well as we expected. Davis Mills looks like he's banged up, too. I don't know. He's not playing well, that's for sure. I got to go with the Chargers. I mean, I wanted to pick a home team here, but the Chargers should be better than the Texans. I don't really believe it that much after this past week, but they should be, so I have to go with the Chargers.
The Chargers should be better than the entire AFC South by a landmile.
You think?
Yeah, they should be, but they haven't been against Jacksonville. And let's hope, for the sake of Justin Herbert's MVP ambitions, and also just this being a really good team that should make the playoffs and should compete, that they're getting it together, because you can't be losing these games. You are in a tough division, and in an even tougher conference. Like, if you want to make the playoffs, you have to have a substantially winning record, and this is a must-win game, absolute must-win game for the Chargers. Make no mistakes about it. If they fall in this game and they go down again, you might start counting them out really early, or the critics are going to get real loud real quick. So Chargers, I'm picking them, but the pressure is on the Chargers. Pressure on LA. They have to get this done. This is a mandatory win, and it's not always easy when you are in that situation. You have to win. There's no margin for error, but I'm gonna trust in Justin Herbert to get it done. Titans at the Colts.
Titans are back, right? But the Colts just beat up on the Chiefs somehow. That was amazing. Like, that was a great game. All of those first window games came down to the last play or so. Man, I was watching, was it Red Zone? Yeah, Red Zone, where they show all the games at once, and bounce back and forth. Yeah, that was such a wonderful witching hour there. Colts, actually, after watching these two, I would say these two teams are about even. I'm going to pick the home team here. I don't really have a lot of reason for it because they're both good and bad at the exact same time. But I need to pick a home team, and the Colts are coming off a huge win, so let's say that they stay fired up and win this one.
For once, I'm just gonna agree with that home team logic this time because these teams are very evenly matched. Now the Colts, only because of that impressive win, am I considering them, But then again, the Titans also started the season off really poorly with losses, including to the Giants. So this was expected to be a playoff competition thing. This is now seems to be like a staying alive competition thing, as both of these teams are struggling to get to 500. I'll take the Colts. They are at home. They have the stronger win, in my opinion. If you compare wins, the Colts have the stronger win. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here and say that they get it done and get back on track. Bears at Giants.
Yeah, speaking of home teams here, I got to go with the Giants, right? Because I'm getting behind the Giants and I want to believe in them. They're not wowing the world. They're not setting the world on fire. They're not doing it in spectacular fashion. They are playing decent and staying in these games. They should have beaten the Cowboys, but it is what it is. Cooper Rush is just too much to handle sometimes. The Bears have 2 wins, surprisingly, over decent teams, right? They don't play as well as their record indicates at this point in time. The offense is bad. David Montgomery is banged up. I hope he gets back, man, because that should have been a huge game for David Montgomery, but he went out so early that ruined a lot of fantasy lineups. I'll say that. The Giants, they got to get their offense going. Being at home, I'm going to take the Giants. They should win this one.
See, with Saquon being at full power, I think this Giants team is underrated. It's better than people give them credit for. I agree with that, and I think they have a legitimate argument. If it weren't for like the super breakout Eagles, they had a legitimate argument to compete for this division. And maybe they still do because they have to still play the Eagles. But this at home against Chicago is a mandatory win, and this for the Giants, this is sort of a fork in the road. This is where you say yourself apart. Are you gonna be the 500 team? Are you just gonna be the old same old Giants? Or are you going to say, like, this is going to be a different season? Like, this is a winning season. We're a winning team. We are going to make waves. If you win, that's where you're going. If you don't, then you're 500 and you're putting yourself on track to stay pretty much that way for the rest of the season. Key game for New York, in my opinion. Also for Chicago, of course. Any game is key so early on. But I will take the Giants. So I agree with you. I'm having faith. They should have beat the Cowboys. I agree with that. Didn't get when it came time to put an offensive drive together, they didn't get it done. But I'm gonna believe in them once more. Jaguars at the Eagles.
Yeah, speaking of breakout teams right here. Jaguars and Eagles, man, both of these teams look so good right now. Oh man, there's a point. The NFC East may have the most wins out of all of the divisions right now. Who would have thought East? That? Yes, I think so. When the season first started, everybody thought the AFC West. I'm sorry, the AFC West was going to be the swashbuckling, kill everybody division
sure.
here. But no, the NFC East is probably the best division in football right now. Crazy. But the Jaguars are on a roll. I don't expect them to roll into Philly and just beat up on the Eagles like they did with a pretty good team last week. Wow, now I want to believe in them also. I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I think he is really good, and we're seeing that last year was not Trevor Lawrence. That was all Urban Meyer. Lawrence is good. The Jaguars are halfway decent. But they can't beat the Eagles, right? The Eagles are on a roll. The Eagles look like the Ravens during Lamar Jackson's breakout year. I'm going to go with the Eagles at home.
I do agree. Undefeated team. There's no good point to pick against them at the moment. Their defense is stronger than expected. Their offense is stronger than expected. Taking the Eagles. So far, no one seems to be able to really stop them consistently, and then they're wreaking havoc on the defensive side. Now, Jaguars are a promising team, and they are the kind of team that, Storybook would achieve the upset here. Like, as you could say, they did against the Chargers as well. So they definitely are coming into this with some momentum, but I'm taking the Eagles at home. It's the smart pick, and I do agree with that. Not picking against the undefeated team here just yet. Jets at the Steelers.
Just when we wanted to believe in the Jets. They had an epic meltdown here. But the Bengals are a Super Bowl team, so maybe it was to be expected, but we wanted to believe that Flacco could do it somehow, but obviously not. Their true colors showed. And the Steelers didn't do anything wonderful either. They lost to the Browns with their backup quarterback. Ah, man, so much parity in the NFL. I don't think there's any zero loss. Oh, well, I guess the Texans are the only ones that have zero wins. Sorry.
0 wins.
This should be the Steelers. All right, I'm going to take them. They're at home. This should easily be the Steelers right here. Tomlin should get this team back together. They don't have anything spectacular at quarterback. They do have a great receiving core. So they should beat the Jets, right? Let's go with the Steelers.
I do agree. I want to see Kenny Pickett start already. That's the only comment I have about this entire game. It's profoundly uninteresting, but I'm going to take the Steelers to win it because I trust the coach more. Cardinals at the Panthers.
What happened to the once mighty Cardinals? The old super team has fallen into nothingness. They shouldn't even have that one win, to tell you the truth. They are bad. And then the Rams just brought it to them at every angle and destroyed them. Panthers got the win over the Saints. I mean, I guess things are kind of looking up for the Panthers. Maybe Baker Mayfield can get it going there. I wish they'd worked DJ Moore in. They have a dynamic receiver there, but they're using other options at this point in time. I would like to see them get DJ Moore going. This team could be much more deadly than it is, I think. Well, I guess it's not very deadly at all at this point. Cardinals are bad. I'm going to take the Panthers at home.
See, this is a hard one to pick because I don't particularly like either one of these teams to be very good this year, from what it's been looking like so far. And this is, by the way, also this is probably my meteor game in terms of quarterback specifically because this is undeserved Oklahoma Heisman versus undeserved Oklahoma Heisman.
Yes.
I'll take the Cardinals. I'll just close my eyes and take Arizona on the grounds of their defense can really step up in certain spots. They did it against the Raiders when they pushed the game into overtime, and then they forced a fumble twice, by the way. On one overtime drive, forced 2 fumbles, ended up scooping one up and taking it for 6. They won the game. That defense did. You gotta wonder if the fortunes of this team are gonna change when DeAndre Hopkins returns. It seems like right now it's really, really hurting them that he's not playing. But I think against Carolina, they should be able to get it done. So I'll take them. Patriots at the Packers.
I'll tell you, man, without Mac Jones, Brian Hoyer's going to be starting. This team is horrible. They weren't setting the world on fire with Mac Jones, but they had a chance to kind of win this game. I mean, you're facing Aaron Rodgers, so maybe they didn't. But you had more of a shot with Mac Jones than you have with Brian Hoyer. The Packers didn't look great, but it was a spectacular defense, like you noted, and they were well enough to get the win. As Rodgers sometimes does, he plays well enough just to get the win, and that's it. Even though he's got more in the tank, he's not going to throw it out there if he doesn't need to. I'll take the Packers at home. This should be an easy win.
I agree. You made the point already. If it was Mac Jones, we could debate about this. But since it's not Mac Jones, we know the Patriots tend to generally win with defense and special teams. They've done that throughout their entire dynasty. And so the impact should not be as large losing the quarterback as you would think for some other teams. But then, the replacements, Brian Hoyer, and the offense hasn't exactly been firing. It hasn't been gelling all that well yet. You got a new guy stepping up, and it's Brian Hoyer versus Aaron Rodgers. That's what it boils down to. It doesn't matter what the teams. I'm not picking Brian Hoyer versus Aaron Rodgers. So Packers to win. And maybe Aaron Rodgers is sneaking himself back into that MVP conversation. One more successful game, one more flawless game from him, and statistically speaking, he's firmly in the top 10 after that first week horrible loss. He's getting back to the picture, which we sort of expected him to do. So Packers to beat the Patriots. Not expecting any big upsets there. Broncos at the Raiders.
Yeah, answer this question. Does Russell Wilson just own the 49ers or what?
I think the Niners own themselves quite a lot. Like,
maybe.
you know that picture of the guy like literally shoots himself in his own foot. Like that's the Niners a lot of the time. But that's also been the Broncos this season. Weirdly, it was one of those games that really nobody wanted to win.
Obviously, no, not at all. Man, 11-10. Like that is a ridiculous.
By the way, I
score.
wanna mention this because of course I live in Europe, so the time zones are moved, right? So this game for me kicked off at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it ended at 6. Meaning that I stayed up for this game all night. Like literally all night. And then I get this. I get an 11-10 offensive tragedy on both sides. That was not worth staying up for. It was a horrible game.
It was
regardless
ugly.
of the outcome, even it was terrible to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, I'm trying to find bright spots on the Broncos. Cortland Sutton looks like he's playing well enough. You know, the situation is what it is with Jerry Jeudy. I don't know why they're not utilizing Javonte Williams even more. That could be a breakout star. But on the other side, the Raiders really need a win. I think they are going to, you know, that's the other 0-win team right here. The Raiders have to win this, right? They have to come out firing against a bad Broncos team that has a somewhat decent defense, but that's about it. That offense is not going to win them a game. The Raiders have to take this. They have to be fired up, and they're never going to get to 8-8 like this. So I'm going to take the Raiders to win this one.
They're not getting to 8-8 as it stands. They have the worst record in the league. And you know what? I'm losing trust in them. I'm gonna take the Broncos to win it. You wanted to look for bright spots, and Denver, I'll give you one. The defense. Defense is outstanding. Denver defense has been outstanding. They gave up a touchdown on the opening drive and then 3 points for the rest of the game. They've been shutting it down. So credit the defensive unit. I think they'll be able to hold off the Raiders, and I'm gonna take the Broncos to go into Las Vegas and beat the Raiders and keep them undefeated. If that's the right word. Winless. There we go. Better. Chiefs at the Bucks.
Undefeated.
Undefeated. That's good. Yeah, that is good.
Man, at this rate, the Broncos are going to be the 77 Falcons. The best defense in the league, but also the worst offense. So you end up 8-8 in the end. The Chiefs should be fired up for this one. They should get it going. I know that was a tough loss. Tough last-second loss. Oh, man. Kickers play such a huge part in the NFL these days. And as we're seeing, some of them get fired for missing one kick these days also. Rodrigo should be on the team, by the way. I just want to say that. The Chiefs should be in the same position. It's not that they are in any danger of losing the division at this point like the Raiders are, but they should be fired up. They should be. You saw Mahomes and Bieniemy fighting on the sidelines. Like, they did not like the outcome of that game one bit. So they should be ready to play the Bucs here. It's a tough defense. It's probably even better than the Broncos. This is a great defense. But on the other side, much like the Broncos, they don't have much of an offense at all. So I think the Chiefs can put up enough points on that defense to overcome whatever that offense can muster up. And Russell Gage and whoever else Tom Brady wants to throw to.
Is this legitimately going to be like a low-scoring Chiefs game for once?
I wouldn't doubt it.
It's possible, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to think, like, one of the best offenses in the league versus ostensibly the best defense in Tampa Bay. I'll take Kansas City as well. I'm going to take them because the Bucs offense is depleted. There's just the receiving threats just aren't there. The running game's not working the way it has been, and Tom Brady has not been playing the way that he's supposed to play. So everything on that, and by the way, offensive line has been banged up with injuries even since training camp, since preseason. Nothing's really going to plan. The Buccaneers could easily have a losing record at this point. Division doesn't look very strong, but they've managed to keep it afloat. I think the Chiefs should win. They better win. It's kind of like what I said for the Chargers as well. You got to win that game because you just lost in embarrassing fashion, as did the Chargers. You got to catch yourself and compete for the AFC West, which I still believe is going to be very strong because knock knock, here come the Broncos apparently as well. So you don't want to drop. You don't want to drop to 500 if you're Kansas City. Better go with Tampa Bay and win. And Monday night closes out. We have the Rams at the Niners.
Yeah, speaking of the other Western Division here. The 49ers, like I said, looked bad. They couldn't get anything going on offense either out of that first drive. Man, we got to get Kittle. We got to get Kittle going. We got to get whatever undrafted free agent running back Shanahan wants going.
Jordan Mason is the name of the week.
Yeah. Oh man. Ayuk should be out there doing more work than he is too. That's a superstar in the making. If he can ever get enough work to prove it. And Debo, we all know how great Debo is. They have the offensive weapons. As long as Jimmy G can come through to get the ball to those weapons. That's the problem here. I think maybe it's rust for the first game back, and he'll get it together. But on the other side, this is Sean McVay going up against Shanahan. And this also is Matthew Stafford going up against Jimmy G. This is a Super Bowl contender versus the ones who got knocked out. What was it, the first round of the playoffs? I think you're going to take the 49ers, right? I'm going to take the Rams.
Wait, who was the first round knockout and who was the contender here in that comparison? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The Rams were the Super Bowl champions, and
yeah, but the Niners played in the NFC Championship game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Against
They
Rams.
beat the Packers, right?
Yeah, I'll take some credit, and the Cowboys, by the way.
That's
There's some credit. Their first round, yeah, right. Okay, this is a tough one to pick, but there's one specific thing that you haven't mentioned that tips me over the edge, which by the way you're incorrect, unfortunately, and with much sadness it is that I have to announce here that I'm going to pick the Rams to win the game, and that is because the Niners are going to be missing their best player, the very best player on the team, and it's not who what people generally think about. I'm talking about Trent Williams. Is going to be out, high ankle sprain, probably for about a month. It's not. They don't come close to cover how big of a loss that is. Whenever a quarterback, receiver, running back gets hurt, it's headlines. X player out for this and this many weeks. This is the biggest impact loss that offense could have suffered. Yes, bigger than Deebo Samuel. I'm going to go. Maybe not take away the quarterback. Like if Jimmy Garoppolo went down as well, maybe that would be a bigger impact. But outside of him, this is massive. This is an absolutely terrible loss because it's the best offensive lineman in the league, protecting the blind side of a quarterback who is not the most mobile. We know that of Garoppolo, and it showed against Denver. It was part of why that game ended up turning, why the offense put nothing together after Garoppolo was out. Because when Williams got hurt, they still had the lead, and they put nothing together after that because the pressure got there, and I think that the Rams specialize in rushing the passer. I think the defensive front is elite, and Trent Williams is a player you desperately need, because there's a chain reaction. It leads to you have to have line up Kittle on the left side now. You have to have him stay in and block more. You'll be able to run less motion, so let's clear out concepts with your tight ends because you need them chipping, you need them blocking. And it ripples out the offense. It takes a lot away. People don't think about it, but offensive linemen are crucial if you have someone like that. So that, to me, tips the scales. This game is a pick'em in terms of the odds that are listed on the website, but I will very slightly favor the Rams. Unfortunately, I wish I wouldn't, but I am going to have to do it for this. We'll get it back. We'll get them back at the end of the season. But this one I have to pick, though.
Crazy.
So that's all our picks. I picked probably, again, 12 road teams or something, just intuitively. 10 to 12 road teams, it felt like. You can count those if you like, and then let me know later. But everyone watching, let us know your comments, your picks in the comments. Is it something you vehemently disagree with? Let us know. Can we have a sneak peek into the fantasy football world?
Yeah, we're going into week 3, man. It's a time to assess the assets, as we do every week 3 of the season, or week 4. I'm sorry.
Week 4.
Man, I am so out of it today. Going into week 4, we assess the assets. That's what we do on week 4. We got to look at how teams or players are performing at this point, see which ones are capable of being cut, and who on the waiver wire we can pick up. That doesn't mean you're superstars, but I will tell you all about it on the Hurry Up Offense.
All right, not to give too much away, isn't that week 4 is sort of the pivot when we start considering, some of the like week 2 and week 3, you kind of talked about don't get too hasty with cutting your established guys. So this is sort of the prove it deal now. It's starting to get to that point.
Week 4 is the decision making time for proven commodities and decent players. And it's not necessarily that if you're going to take like a Justin Jefferson who hasn't played well in 2 games, you're definitely not going to bench him. But let's say it's someone who didn't play well in week 1. You might want to bench that guy, not drop him, because he is a proven commodity and he can return to value at any given time. But you might want to bench him for someone who is performing at this point in time.
Right. Okay, we'll be looking forward to that. Fantasy players, check out the Hurry Up Offense coming up just after this podcast on this channel. So subscribe so you don't miss it. Also, special shout out and congratulations to Davante Adams for being among the top 30 receivers in the entire NFL. Who would have thought? Very impressive performance. Top 30 just by the skin of his teeth, but he is there. Very, very impressive there. Any thoughts? Let us know in the comments, your picks, your predictions, and go to the poll on the community page and vote for your current NFL MVP. Tell me why. If you pick someone that's not listed, can only list 4 names and the option other, because 5 options is the maximum. So if your guy isn't listed, don't be too offended by it, but let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. We're gonna see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check.